we had measured every single part of where her fevers are coming, why they're coming, the colors correlated. And so that became sort of our map, a roadmap for us to sort of dive into the performance. It was really fun. I mean, it was definitely challenging. It was challenging for the entire crew and cast.
And you just crushed it. Crushed it.
I love you.
Hi, David Crow with Den of Geek here, and I'm here with Flying Lotus, Eiza González, and Aaron Paul to discuss their new sci-fi movie, Ash. Flylo, this is a very strange, very beautiful looking movie, and I think a good place to start is, when did the idea come to you, and how long did you work on developing it?
The script was written by a guy named Johnny Rimler, a really talented cat, and it came to me a while ago. I can't even tell you the year at this point. It took a while to get everything cooking, to get things going, and I spent a lot of that time. It was about a year of casting and kind of beating the script up. And that time, I spent a lot of it learning Unreal Engine and trying to learn some bits of visual effects, just because I wanted to do some pre-visualizations and come up with some things before we did anything, and I just wasn't satisfied with my drawings.
Well, I mean, related to that, again, we were talking a moment ago, I do think it's a very beautiful looking movie, and some of the colors reminded me of like a tie-dye shirt I was seeing at a rave or a party 20 years ago. And I'm curious, as the director, why the emphasis on red and purple, and what does that mean to you? Because it seems striking in the film.
I mean, the movie is from Ria's perspective, from her perspective, and it's a lot of the colors and the tone of it is really a reflection of her headspace and where she's dealing with a lot. I don't want to spoil too much, but it actually does correspond really well to what she's dealing with emotionally, and
it's purposeful.
It is purposeful.
Yeah.
Hey, so what can you say of what she's going through, and what the world is like when she wakes up?
Yeah, I mean, it's as we meet Ria, the first opening scene is sort of this space den, I guess we would call it a space den, and she's sort of covered in blood, remembers nothing, walks out, finds all the crew viciously murdered, and she doesn't know who she is or where she is. And so the movie sort of starts there, and we start following her, sort of trying to trace back what happened. And in the way, we find Brian, who appears, and we're not sure who's to be trusted. And I think that for me as an actress to be able to play a role that starts in such it's challenging when you start a role with, you're already starting the tone of the movie from the get-go. You really have to commit to the tone immediately. And it's a very unusual format of film. It's not your traditional sort of storyline. And so for an actress, also when you're playing a lot of trying to piece things together, sort of finding and continuing the rhythm and making sure that it doesn't get too confusing, or you can make sure that you're conveying the right emotions to the audience. And that's where the point of view of a director that has a visual idea, a cast that brings something different, like really his vision of, we had measured every single part of where her fevers are coming, why they're coming, the colors correlated. And so that became sort of our map, a roadmap for us to sort of dive into the performance. It was really fun. I mean, it was definitely challenging. It was challenging for the entire crew and cast.
And you just crushed it. Crushed it.
I love you.
A big challenge is so much of our identities come from our memories.
Correct.
And you have to build a character who doesn't know who she is.
And it's just sort of like a newborn baby. There was moments that I felt like, and it was very tender and vulnerable for me as an actress, because I felt like a little girl in many of these scenes. And I think you can see it, especially with Aaron. And I don't know if it's the relationship that him and I had previous that sort of informed that, which I really was grateful for having an actor that I had felt very familiar, because it has to feel like we've been in this place together. Yeah. And he allowed me to get to these places of vulnerability to make her kind of dimensional. And and confused. And again, everything, our identity is based off memories. And once you wipe that out, you lose kind of purpose of life. And that allows for the mind to wonder. And that's what becomes a psychological thriller part of a movie.
And well, Aaron, we were talking.
Wow, that was amazing.
I love you.
We were talking how your character, the audience, and Rhea doesn't necessarily know what to make of your character. So there's a bit of ambiguity about him. And I'm curious, were you talking at all with Philo about things like The Thing or other sci-fi touchstones to understand this character?
Yeah, I mean, when we first met on this project, you know, this came to both Eiza and my desk at the same time, and so it was just nice to have each other's back from the beginning. But when Philo came over to the house, he had just such a clear, specific vision on how he wanted to tackle this, and he would bring up, you know, films that he was fans of. He had an amazing sort of deck he had put together, and yeah, you know, when he shows up, he's been orbital monitoring around the planet, so he hasn't really been with the crew for some time. He's been just on his solo journey in a spaceship by himself, doing God knows what. But then he gets an SOS call from this one, and he shows up, and the entire crew is massacred. So he's just trying to figure out if, first of all, what the hell happened, but if he can trust her. And so they're both just feeling each other out.
And I think that scenes in movies like this that look like you're sort of confused are the movies that take less confusion while making. You have to have such clarity of where you're injecting that. And Philo was very clear, and Aaron, because it's all about little Easter eggs too, and you're kind of hinting to the audience a lot of things throughout the movie, and it's about how much you lay it in or not. And so that was very exciting as an actor, because it was very meticulous work that we were doing.
Yeah, and the way the script came too was like a jigsaw puzzle in
It's
a
a
lot
jigsaw
of ways.
puzzle,
It was really it didn't have to be constructed that way, but it just happened to be constructed in a way that was like, what is this, the House of Leaves? Or what was going on? Like, why is this all so good? But,
Get you to lean in.
yeah, no, it was great though. It was a great experience. Yeah.
And for both you and Eiza as well, there's without giving away too many spoilers, there's a pretty terrific fight sequence in this movie. And it's done largely from the first person perspective.
Oh yeah, I love that. See?
And were you, I got to ask, Eiza, were you the camera operator? Because it looks like you're doing.
Sometimes he did a lot with my stunt, and then because the camera was the camera operator, right? The camera was the stunt person. Yeah. But you know, I grew up playing video games my entire life. I'm a humongous Silent Hill fan.
That was the first thing she said to me, pretty much. She was like, you know, the script reminds me of Silent Hill. I was like, she's perfect.
Yes, it was. It reminded me of Silent Hill 2. And she's in. I used to play Silent Hill avidly, and it really reminded me the vibe, the energy. It was something that I always sort of wanted to do. And I love the first person perspective in movies. It just gives you a real sense of being in it, and also creates so much anxiety, and it just really triggers different feelings. I thought that was dope. I was like, yes, I'm glad you're doing this. And it really changes. It allows for the movie to have a different narrative simultaneously without having to do too much. And it makes it way more interesting.
Again, no spoilers, but there is a creature feature element to the movie. And is the...
No spoilers.
Well, but is that part of the fun of doing something like this, to do the special effects that are that elaborate in a movie?
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so great about what we do, is just make believe on the highest level possible, you know? Yeah. And the fact that we get to do it on another planet together is great.
Yeah, that's the beauty of horror and sci-fi, really, is, you know, you can, anything goes.
And practicality. It's cool to have practicality on a set. It makes it way more... first of all, entertaining, because we laugh a lot behind scenes. Like, there's a blooper reel of us like just being silly with everything that eventually people will watch. But at the same time, it makes it way more it makes it way more easy to access, and you're just sort of really in it.
Yeah.
Philo, could we talk about the music in this movie?
Sure, yeah.
Because obviously you wrote the music for the film, and what tone do you think you wanted to set with the soundscapes?
It's funny because I had a vision for it originally, and it kind of changed when I started cutting the movie together. Just the original thing I wanted to do just wasn't working, and I had to try a bunch of different stuff. I threw different sounds at the wall, and I just started thinking. I was really obsessed with Halloween at the time, and I was watching John Carpenter stuff quite a bit, and I just thought about how when he did Halloween, he was kind of up against it for time, and he had to do this soundtrack pretty much by himself. And I just kind of tried to feel that spirit and thought to myself, like, what can I do alone in New Zealand with minimal gear and all this stuff? Like, how do I do that thing and still bring something new to it and make it interesting to myself? And because I've done music for a bit, and I wanted to just tap into something a little different.
It's obviously in the genre space, and that seems to be a place people still want to see original stories in. And why do you think genre has that kind of eternal appeal?
Genre films, they're those movies you want to go see on Friday night. You know, they're those things where it's like, you know, some of them may be forgettable, but you know, you just kind of want to have a good time sometimes and escape the crazy world that we live in.
Also, I think that those types of films, and I want to just make a point, is like independent filmmaking is challenging, is not easy. You know, that here comes someone with a vision and an exciting story and off the wall, right? And it's exciting. I personally have been really happy to see that the independent filmmaking is taking it back, like a cool turn into, because that's the things, man. Like that's how you create new styles, new visual imagery, and you sort of renovate and give it a fresh take into filmmaking. And this movie was made for no money. We worked so hard. Like we were all living in New Zealand, working dire hours and under dire circumstances to make art, and it's passion. It really is the vision and believing in a story of just doing something different. And I just commend him for really taking a ginormous swing at it.
Exactly,
he did a great
right.
job.
Thank you.
Real briefly, Eiza, your character in season 1 of 3, Body Problem, she went on a journey that, you know, somewhat diverged from what happens in the book. Have you had any conversations with David, Dan, and Alexander about whether Augie will return in season 2?
Yeah, she's back. I mean, I mean, maybe that's a spoiler. I might be fired now. No, but yeah, I mean, it's very out there that we're doing the 2nd and 3rd season back to back. We start in a few months, and yeah, I'm really excited. If there's people out there that read the whole trilogy of books, it's gonna get real good. The heat is right here. We're about to step into
This is the heat.
Dark Forest. Like these books are incredible. So I'm waiting eagerly to read the scripts, but it'll be soon.
Well, I can't wait to see it, and congratulations on this film, and thank you for joining us here.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.